I said, creativity is a tool in our industry, but by the results. And it's hard to argue that that has helped put North Dakota's tourism industry on the map and grown it to one of the largest industries in the state.
And not just tourism, but North Dakota itself on the map.
Oh, yeah, absolutely. I mean, Sarah will tell you as she travels on the country, the people that comment on the campaign and how it's risen. But also our economic revival in this state at a time when the rest of the country struggle. You talk to anybody that travels nationally, and they'll tell you North Dakota used to be, well, one that it wasn't that they had a bad impression, they had no impression.
They didn't know about it
right.
at all.
And in fact, they'd often ask, is that where Rushmore is? Today you travel, and between tourism and energy and our economy, people around the country know who we are and are envious of what's going on in this state. So it's there's a lot of things that have changed the way people, but obviously the legendary campaign has been a small part of that. And also it's been the hard work of not just the tourism office here in the state, but a lot of people across the state have. I mean, it's been fun to watch this whole industry get energized and move forward in large part together in the last decade.
I think, too, it's the people that live here are actually very proud of that campaign, and they live it themselves. But next one I wanted to ask.
Well, I want to throw out one other, though, for you.
Gotcha.
And a lot of things I've been proud of in the work, but I will tell you that just purely from a vanity point, we worked on a campaign of a project for a company called Labor Ready out of Tacoma, Washington, and had an opportunity to produce a series of ads that ran in the World Series and the NFL playoffs nationally.
Wow.
And so I got to tell you that will always have a special place, because as I'm sitting at home watching Fox television, the World Series, and seeing an Odney ad run in prime time in the World Series was kind of cool, too. So
that's got to be huge.
I mean, that was kind of cool, too. But in terms of sheer volume of effect, the tourism campaign in Legendary has been one of the things that we're most proud of.
Very cool. So for all those small business owners out there who try to understand marketing but possibly don't always understand marketing and maybe don't have the budget right now to afford an advertising agency, what are the top 3 things that you can tell them, pointers, little tips you can give them?
Well, number one, start with understanding who your customer is and what moves them. You know, too often businesses will buy advertising and then say, oh, what are we going to run?
Exactly.
I mean, we run into that all the time.
I do too with City Magazine.
Yeah, you start by saying, who is it that I'm trying to influence and what moves them? Once you understand your customer, because quite frankly, oftentimes business owners assume the things that they find important are the things that their customers find important, and often that's not the case. I can quote a number of times where there was a contradiction between research we've done and what clients thought was the reality. The only way to really understand your customers is sit down and ask them, or potential customers, people that should be your customers that aren't. Ask them what matters to them, why they decide what to do, who to shop, where to buy services, whatever it is you're trying to do, right? What brands to buy. You have to understand what drives their choices. Because then you can figure out, okay, who is my target, what moves them, and then what media best helps me deliver that for the money I have to spend. Those 3 facets is how you successfully use advertising to drive business. Now, awareness is great. All advertising creates awareness. But when you can create motivation, then you've now taken and doubled down on that investment.
Very cool. That's very good advice to give, because it is so true. You've got to first know who it is that you're trying to target. Next question. When it comes to the national brands out there, what has been your favorite campaign, recent campaign that you've seen or noticed? And obviously you wouldn't know, the results of it because you're not in that business, but what has been one of the more recent campaigns that sticks out to you?
Well, one of the ones, and actually you do end up seeing in our business a lot of the results of other campaigns, especially on a national level, because obviously the trades are full of the results and the success and failures of our various efforts. And understanding and reading and staying abreast of trends in the industry, success and failure, is how you learn and continue to grow in this business. So we pay a lot of attention. I tell anybody that works for me, especially on the account side, you will read a lot and you will write a lot, because that's how we grow and how we communicate. And so having said that, there's a number of campaigns, obviously, that have been very successful. I always look at from a purely national standpoint, Target is a great example. Target, with their approach and really being fashion and not just being price driven, but being environment and experience driven. That campaign is about the experience of shopping at Target, not just from the buying, but the products. And I mean, it really is, in a way, almost fashion driven. Even though not everything they sell is fashion, it's very much a way to differentiate the experience of shopping at Target from maybe other discounters.
Yes.
And I've always said, and it's one of the, it's a tremendous success story for Target. Rather than go head to head, just be another price driven, they really have it's price, but you also get cool stuff that you want. And that's...
They make anything that's just like an ordinary item look cool.
Right. Well, and that's the thing is that, the generic brand revolution was going to do away with everything we do, right? And that was supposed to, people's common sense was supposed to take over and understand that if you bought it in a plain white box for a little less, you were still getting a great product, but you were saving all that marketing money. Well, guess what? It didn't work. Because people want to feel good about where they shop, what they buy. And one of the ways that happens is their relationship to brands. Target could have been out there and just saying, hey, no, we're cheaper. But they said, no, we sell quality products for less, and you're going to get these cool brand names that you want. You get the stuff you want for less. And it really positioned them against the discounters and the deep discounters as saying, you're not just going to get a better price, you're going to get the stuff you really want.
Yeah, no, I think they're very cool.
And you can't argue with success, because their growth over the period of that campaign has outpaced the industry and has really put them back in a position where they are very competitive in that discount market.
I love the Mac campaigns.
Oh yeah,
I think they're so cool. I when they came out, I mean, totally hit the younger demographic.
Right.
Me for sure with that one kid, and then the PC who's in a business suit. Hey PC, what you doing? Oh, well, just waiting for the computer to boot up. Oh, well, I'm like working on my stuff right now, you know, so.
Yeah, that's another great example of a very successful, a very successful campaign. What that is actually one of the oldest forms of advertising on the planet. It's demonstration. They did in a very novel way. They demonstrated the difference that from their perception of PCs and Macs, and demonstration. You go back to the Tide commercials where the guy would spray some ketchup on something.
It's white with Tide,
right,
and still red with.
Right, and then you put it in the vat, stir it around, pull it out, and Tide's made it clean. That approach has always proven to be, that and testimonials are two of the oldest, most successful forms. All that Macintosh did and the Apple Corporation was put a new spin on that. Highly successful, but really demonstrated a tangible difference and really connected well with their target audience, especially the younger audience.
And that's exactly what I mean. Like, I mean, if you go to the Tide and you just do a demonstration, great, you see the demonstration, but you're not connecting personally with them. And that's why I think the Apple took it one step further, that demonstration, where they actually put a persona to a product.
Well, they can't represent, unlike with Tide, they could show you the piece of clothing that had the stain gone. With Mac, it's pretty hard to demonstrate the difference, so they found a very clever way to represent that in a way that also was entertaining and cut through the clutter. Because that's the tool of creativity. In our business, the three legs are get the message right, cut through and get noticed, and then teach through repetition. That's where your media buy is important. But that creativity as a tool is how you cut through the clutter, because in any given day there are thousands of ads that we're bombarded with. So how do you stand out? Well, that creativity is how you stand out, and that's exactly what Mac did in that campaign.
Very cool. I have to ask you this question because Mad Men is such a huge popular show. Are you a Mad Men fan? I've
watched it a couple of times. It's interesting. It's more of a soap opera than it is, there are elements of it that the staff laugh about because it is in some ways relevant, but mostly it's a soap opera. It's not really true to form. What is interesting, though, you talk to any of the old-timers, that is not so much the process and the actual advertising that goes on, but the way they live. In many ways, that's a true reflection. I remember when I was first in the business, made one of my first agency calls, and I won't talk about which agency, but a long-standing agency, and I met with the principal, the owner, and we went out to lunch, and this is kind of the turning point of how business is done in the world and in the agency business. And I was a new kid, and of course he had 3 martinis at lunch, And trying to impress him because I was making a sales
Oh, no.
call, I drank martini. Well, I'm hammered by the time lunch is over, and he's just getting going. And so, but he comes from that era. He
Yeah.
came from that era. This is back in the early 80s. He had grown up in the business in that era. And many of those things, I think, in the 50s and 60s especially, was how business was done in the advertising game. Today, that's not the case.
No, you can't. You can't get hammered at lunch.
Yeah, well, yeah, I
You
like.
can, but it probably wouldn't be so successful.
No, yeah, you probably won't get very far in life if that's the case. So yeah, that's not. In fact, I'm a firm believer that our business is 1% inspiration, 99% perspiration. That's how you come to understand how people are motivated and what moves them in this game that we're in.
And one final quick question here, because we've got just a few more minutes. Age-old debate: the woman runs the pants in the household. Am I correct?
For most buying decisions, and I mean most, even new cars now have moved over from men to women. Women make most buying decisions in this world today.
That's what I figured. I just wanted to hear a man say it.
Yeah, it's true, and I've embraced it. And the same is true in my company. Most of our employees are women, and they really do run the show there too. So
That doesn't surprise me.
so yeah, now
either.
I'm pandering to you. On that
Thank
point.
you, thank you. I feel so wonderful. Well, thank you so much for coming on this edition of City Chat, and thank you again for gracing our September cover. It's been a very interesting conversation. I love advertising. I love the marketing world, and I just love picking your brain.
Well, thank you very much. I appreciate the opportunity.
Very cool. And everyone, thank you again for watching this edition of City Chat with City Magazine. Make sure you head to our website at thecitymag.com, where you can read the entire issue, the September issue, with Pat Finken on the cover, and you can also watch past episodes of City Chat with City Magazine. Have a good day.